In today's Leeds news, Llorente's gentleman agreement, Alfie Gilchrist link details, returning Loanees don't want to talk about it, and today's rumour mill. Morning folks, Jay here on Monday morning the 3rd of June with your Leeds United news. Approaching the opening of the transfer window, which we'll see some of the rumours that are floating around now turn into reality or not. We've got some details on some potential outgoings, some details on the loanee returns, but also rather than just put out these stories about signings that may never actually sign for Leeds, they're all grouped together at the very end of the video in the rumour mill. So I'll classify everything as a rumour until, it's made permanent or actually happens. So we'll start off today with the news around Diego Llorente and a potential gentleman's agreement with the player. According to Corriere dello Sport, Leeds United and AS Roma have a gentleman's agreement in place that could extend the player's loan deal into next season after Leeds failed to gain promotion to the Premier Division. The report says that Llorente is waiting in hope for an extension. Adding to this report, there's a second report from Il Tempo journalist Voce Giallorossa, and he says that Leeds and Roma have a gentleman's agreement in place that could see him sold for £4 million or return to the club on loan. It's claimed that Leeds' inability to get promoted could allow the player to go on loan for another season, although we have heard from Phil Hay recently saying that there are only two loan clauses that can be extended into this year with Mark Roca and Jack Harrison. It's claimed that in this report that if Leeds didn't get promoted, the player could look for another loan move away. And apparently, according to what's been said between Corriere dello Sport and Il Tempo, there are potentially two options for Diego Llorente, but he would like to remain at Roma. One is a potential extension to his loan agreement, and that's coming from Corriere. And then from Il Tempo, they're saying that there's a potential of a purchase there for $4 million. That's the rumoured number we've been hearing for quite a lot of months. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. But that one's not clear, done and dusted yet. It's been dragging on for quite a while, but very, very much not clear or done and dusted yet at all. So moving on to the next story, and that's about a potential incoming. And Leeds haven't had the greatest of success when it comes to bringing players in on loan over the past 12 months. Outside of Joe Rodon, we've seen Jadon Anthony, Jed Spence, Connor Roberts all come into the club, play minimal amounts of minutes. Some of them just not be successful at all or have not much of an impact at all. But according to reliable journalist Ben Jacob, he is saying that Leeds United, Blackburn and Preston all have an interest in loaning Chelsea player Alfie Gilchrist. Gilchrist started 5 times for Chelsea last season and scored against Everton as well. He was described by Jose Mourinho as the kind of player every club would want, and was called out by Mauricio Pochettino for his hard working and training, his good attitude and his work rate on the pitch, as well as a player that clubs would be interested in having due to those attributes. He's a very young player, he's an exciting young player as well, and he would add some more dimensions to Leeds. Whether Leeds can get him or not remains to be seen, but if Leeds are up against Blackburn and Preston, you would imagine that Leeds are the more attractive option of the three clubs. Moving on to the bigger story today, and that's around the returning loanees, and two of them specifically, Brendan Aronson and Max Vober, who are not overly keen on discussing the situation around a potential return to Leeds after news broke during the week from Phil Hay that the loan clauses didn't apply to these players going forward. They've been asked quite a lot while they're on international duty. Aronson, who did enjoy a positive end to his spell at Union Berlin, playing most of the last 10 games and having a very positive, good finish to a season, it should be said, did want to stay at Berlin, but Berlin in their statement announced the player would be returning to Leeds. Aronson, who is now on USMNT international duty, gave an interview to Pro Soccer Wire where he said the following: "I'm just kind of focused on the national team and having the full responsibility here. I'm not thinking about anything else, and that's where my headspace is." He went on to say that he did enjoy his spell at Union Berlin and does see it as strong development for him going into next season. You would hope he's listening to the advice about just putting a bit more beef on, get a little bit stronger as a player. If he listens to that, there's a very good footballer in there, but we'll have to wait and see. Max Vober, on the other hand, has been a little bit more direct with his feedback, basically saying that he doesn't want to hear about it until after the Euros. It might not be his choice. And in his statement to the press, he said the following: "It will depend on what Leeds say. We will see how they want to position themselves and whether I'm in their plans or not. I told my manager that he doesn't need to call me or tell me anything in the next 4 weeks. I want to play in the Euros." It's interesting that Rober should say if I'm in Leeds' plans. Max Wöber was very much in Leeds' plans last summer when he met with Daniel Farke and then went off to do the photograph sessions for Leeds before then deciding he didn't want to stay at Leeds and wanted to move away. So whether Leeds have him in their plans or not, Wöber forced to move last year. He doesn't have the option to force to move this year. Slightly more modest kind of approach to it this year, but we'll wait and see. I know there are some people that do say bringing Wöber back as a defender will be a smart move because of his ability. And then there's the loyalty conversation of walking out on Leeds when, you know, you were part of the problem that brought Leeds down in the first place. But it's a split one, we'll see. And then moving into the rumour mill with some potential incomings that are a little bit more salt on the food needed here on this one. And the first one is a move for Nottingham Forest player Alfie Konate. According to African Foot, Leeds are looking at signing a player who will be out of contract at Nottingham Forest shortly. Leeds, Huddersfield, Sunderland and Derby are all name-checked as clubs that are interested in 23-year-old Alfie Konate. Attacker has played 3 times for Forest's first team this season, but while he was at the under-21 side, he scored 22 goals and got 12 assists for them in 55 appearances, which is an impressive haul for a young attacker. Leeds have a young attacker as whether Konate fills that bill. Leeds probably need a more experienced attacker than a young attacker because we've got Mateo Joseph coming through. Leeds loanee Jed Spence, our former loanee Jed Spence, did say that he likened the player to Vinicius Jr. when he spoke about him earlier this season. It should be said though that Jed Spence has never played with Vinicius Jr., so how he knows the comparisons fully outside watching him on TV, I don't know. But it's a good, bright attacking player. Leeds have young, bright attacking players. Leeds probably need an established number 9 who's a proven entity in the Championship, although maybe they're looking at bringing another young player to go along with Mateo Joseph into the future. But yeah, it's one that very much take it with a pinch of salt. He is out of contract in Nottingham Forest now as well, so he wouldn't cost Leeds anything bar the compensation for Blair being an under-21 player. And then the big rumour mill today one is Santiago Gimenez from Feyenoord. This one's come out. According to Azteca Deportes, Leeds are one of several clubs that are interested in signing Santiago Gimenez, the Feyenoord striker. Now, this is very much out there. He scored 26 goals in all competitions last season for Feyenoord, scoring 3 of them in the league. Now, the thing with this is that there are more likely destinations for the player. Liverpool are said to be interested in him, Spurs are said to be interested in him, and Southampton are all said to be interested in him. And a fee of £51 million is the rumoured fee that has been put out there. But as I said, according to Azteca Deportes, they are saying that Leeds are one of the clubs that were interested in him. Now, that could very much be an earlier this year kind of situation where Leeds are working off 2 shopping lists, one for the Championship and one for the Premier League, and maybe Santiago Gimenez was high up on the potential Premier League signings should Leeds have got there, but we didn't. And I think 51 million would be smashing records everywhere. Leeds record transfer as well as probably a record fee paid for a team in the Championship. Won't happen. Just won't happen. But it is out there, so I said I would share it. And the other rumour that's floating around this morning is the future of Joe Rodon. And according to several outlets today, Leeds are continuing talks with Tottenham Hotspur around a permanent move for Joe Rodon. Joe Rodon still yet to put out a statement saying goodbye to Leeds after his loan expired at the club. We've seen loan goodbyes from Jadon Anthony and Connor Roberts, but yet to see one from Joe Rodon. And according to several reports around the place today, they're saying that Leeds and Spurs are locked in negotiations around trying to get Joe Rodon to Leeds on a permanent deal, which is an important signing to make. It's not a new signing as such, but it is an important sign to make for the back line, and then Leeds will have to rebuild that entire back line with potentially a new goalkeeper being rumoured, because Chelsea are said to be interested in Nellier. So there's a new goalkeeper, a right back, a left back, potentially if Fripper moves on, another centre back, at least one more centre back needed. So major reinforcements needed there. But that's the news for today, folks. I will be back tomorrow morning for more Leeds news, and you can check out down below the podcast from Friday was linked as well. You can check that out if you want to, and I will see you tomorrow for more Leeds news. Have a great rest of your day. Talk to you then. See ya. Bye.